Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more.
Lesley Smyth, the director of WHC, sat at her desk reviewing accounts receivable when she noticed a payment was overdue by a week. Despite her hectic week, she hadn't caught it earlier. I better call Mrs. Perkins and remind her, Lesley thought to herself. Before she could reach for the phone, the intercom buzzed. Yes, Melanie, what is it? Ms. Smith, there's A.R.W. Duncan here to see you. He represents Ms. Perkins. Send him in. Ask if he wants coffee, and bring me one too, please, Lesley instructed as she prepared to meet A.W. Duncan at the door. After exchanging pleasantries, Duncan handed Lesley a check. However, upon seeing the amount, Lesley was taken aback. It was only 1/10 of what was owed. The agreement with Ms. Perkins stated the full amount would be paid 6 months after service. Mr. Duncan, this is not the agreed amount. It's only a fraction of what's due. Where's the rest? Lesley questioned. Ms. Perkins believes this is a fair payment for the services rendered. She doesn't feel obligated to pay for what she hasn't used, Duncan explained. We have a contract. It's verbal. No court will entertain your case. And if we proceed to court, do you really want to testify? Everything will come out, Duncan warned. Ms. Perkins has hinted at things you might prefer not to have public. You can inform Ms. Perkins she won't get away with this. She can and she will. There's nothing you can do, Duncan asserted. If I catch anyone from WHC near Ms. Perkins, I'll expose everything. So my advice is to write it off. With a smirk, Duncan left before Lesley could respond. Moments later, Lesley was on the phone with WHC's private investigator. Sharon, it's Lesley at WHC. We have a problem. A client has backed out of a contract. Which one? Ms. Perkins, right? When I worked on that case, I had a feeling something wasn't right. You must be a mind reader. She didn't have the nerve to come herself. She sent her lawyer, R.W. Duncan, with a check for 1/10 of what she owes. According to him, there won't be any more payments. Lesley, you have a knack for putting the right name to people. If you look up sleazeball in the dictionary, you'll find R.W. Duncan's picture next to it as an example. My office has been investigating his activities for a lawyer client of ours. You wouldn't believe what we've uncovered about him. Does this lawyer know about us and the service we provide? Yes, she does, but we've never discussed the matter. Have you completed your report? I'd like you to inform her that WHC is willing to assist if her client needs it. I'll talk to her. Based on our findings and what the lawyer already knows, her client is in serious trouble. I can't share details unless the lawyer gives approval. The next day, Sharon was waiting for Lesley in the outer office when she arrived for work. I see the lawyer gave you the green light. She did. She also mentioned she doesn't want to be involved but sees no other option for her client. So, what did you uncover about lawyer Duncan? Let me elaborate. 1. He married his wife to gain access to her father's law firm. When the old man unexpectedly passed away, he seized control. 2. Prior to the wedding, he confided in a friend that he intended to cheat on his wife within a month. He restrained himself until 2 months after the wedding, when he found a girlfriend. 3. Before marrying, his wife expressed a desire for children, at least 4 of them. He agreed initially but secretly underwent a procedure to prevent having children. Now he blames his wife for their childlessness but refuses any procedures to remedy it, opting instead to deposit sperm in a bank for future use. 4. He has manipulated his wife's finances to ensure she would receive nothing in case of divorce or his death, unless he becomes incapacitated and unable to manage his affairs, such as due to a stroke. 5. Of particular interest to you, his current girlfriend is your Ms. Perkins. So, there's a clear conflict of interest. Has the WHC information folder been forwarded to Ms. Duncan? Yes, she is currently in discussions with her lawyer as we speak. Will she be informed of all the information you've just shared with me? Yes, her lawyer anticipates you'll receive a phone call before the day is over. That's good. Now, we need to locate Ms. Perkins. Mr. Duncan won't willingly disclose her location. He may not tell us directly, but he might inadvertently lead us to her. Can you manage it? Yes. He'll likely suspect his being followed, so I'll use a bit of psychology. I'll have Chris and myself tail him. Chris will make a conspicuous attempt at surveillance, ensuring he notices her, and then allow him to escape. Meanwhile, I'll stick close to him like glue. His overconfidence should lead me straight to her. Just get it done. But don't lose sight of her once you find her. It'll take some time to set up what I have in mind for them, Lesley said with a mischievous grin as Sharon left. Lesley hurried out of her office to catch Sharon and asked, "Do you know which sperm bank he used?" "Yes." "Even better." Lesley didn't have to wait long. Exactly 20 minutes passed before an appointment was scheduled for Ms. Duncan that very morning. An hour later, Vanessa Duncan was seated in Lesley's office. After exchanging pleasantries, Lesley got straight to the point. "I understand you've read about WHC, Vanessa. Do you have any questions? Does this hypnosis really work?" "Yes, it does. Our methods ensure there's no chance of reversal. From what I've read, you tailor the process to what your client desires." "I'm not entirely sure what I want. I have a few suggestions," Lesley responded. "Let me ask you 2 questions up front. How much do you desire to have a child, particularly RWS child?" "I want a child more than anything else. Even all the money in the world would mean less to me without it. And yes, I want RWS child. I can't explain it, but it's his child I desire." "Then I believe what I have in mind will be exactly what you want." After explaining her plan, Vanessa could only exclaim, "Wow. That would be the most wonderful thing you could do. Do you want RW to be aware of what's happening?" "Yes, I do, but I want the option to change my mind." "No problem, we can arrange that." "What about Thelma Perkins?" "I have plans for your husband's mistress as well. Here's what I propose for her." "Hee." Vanessa chuckled in response. Over the next couple of hours, Lesley and Vanessa meticulously devised a plan for Thelma and RW. Let's just say the two of them would wish for death 1,000,000 times before it arrived. Before leaving the office, Vanessa made an appointment with the WHC doctor. "Why can't I use my own doctor?" "Because ours will understand exactly what we have in mind. She won't have to worry about your husband's reaction. The only thing that matters to her is you." It took 8 weeks to set everything up. When they decided to take action, locating Thelma was effortless. RW was so predictable, Sharon didn't even need to monitor her closely. The capture of RW and Thelma occurred on a Friday night. They had indulged in some drinking and called a cab at midnight. Neither was sober enough to drive. The taxi driver was an employee of WHC. RW and Thelma were so intoxicated they didn't realize they were dropped off at WHC instead of Thelma's apartment. Lesley opted to wait until Sunday to begin the programming, ensuring no alcohol was in their systems. On Sunday night, Vanessa contacted her husband's secretary to inform her he wouldn't be in the office until at least Thursday. "That's no problem. There's nothing that can't be handled by another lawyer. I hope everything is all right." "No. He's just not feeling well. He thinks a couple of days off will help him recover. Call me if he needs any assistance." "Don't worry, I have everything under control." That Wednesday, Vanessa picked up RW. She asked Lesley, "Is everything set for 8:30 tomorrow morning?" His law office usually has a morning staff meeting, like that show LA Law on TV. "Everything is arranged. You won't need to do anything." "Does he remember anything about the last 5 days?" "All he remembers is being sick and you taking care of him." "Don't worry, everything will go smoothly." The next morning, RW went to his office as usual. "I'm glad I got over that flu. I don't remember ever being that sick," RW muttered to himself. "I better call Thelma and see how she's doing." I remember dropping her off at her apartment. I don't recall anything after that night. R.W. greeted Ms. Holder, his secretary, after checking his messages. Barb, I'll go through these after the staff meeting. Get ready to make some calls. The staff meeting began at 8:30. At 8:35, R.W. stood up to speak. When he noticed everyone was staring at his pants instead of him, he looked down to see why. He realized he had wet himself. Before he could react, he did something he never thought he would do again in his life. He soiled his pants, not like someone who had been ill, but like a baby. As he tried to speak, all that came out was babbling. His colleagues watched in shock as he collapsed to the floor. Unable to stand, he began crawling and screaming, "What the hell is happening?" But no one responded. Paramedics arrived within minutes. The senior partner called Vanessa, who rushed to the hospital as any concerned wife would. After waiting anxiously in the hospital for 3 hours, the doctor finally confirmed what she had feared. "I'm sorry, Ms. Duncan. We don't know what has happened to your husband, but it seems his mind has regressed to that of a 1-year-old. Are you certain?" "Yes, we've conducted every test available and a few additional ones. It appears your husband now has the cognitive function of a toddler in an adult's body. Is there anything we can do for him?" "Anything? We're conducting further tests, but I'm not optimistic they'll reveal anything new. If you want odds on whether he'll recover, I'd say 75 to 25. 75% chance he'll recover? No, he won't recover from this. What are my options? You can care for him yourself, or place him in a specialized facility for cases like this. They are quite expensive," replied the doctor. "Money is not an issue. I want you to exhaust every possible option and more. Spare no effort." "Yes, 2 weeks later, after exploring every avenue, the doctor conceded, "There is no physical ailment causing your husband's condition. We even consulted a psychiatrist, but the issue remains unclear. I believe it's best to transfer him to a care facility." "Yes, I think a care facility is the best option. I won't be able to care for him, especially with a new baby due in 7 months." "Already?" exclaimed the doctor. "You misunderstood," she said, patting her belly. "I just found out I'm pregnant. We were together about 2 months ago. It must be a miracle. The timing is perfect. Congratulations. You can arrange for your husband's transfer at any time." "Doctor, I appreciate all your efforts. I think the doctors at the care home should take over his case. Could you prepare his records and test results for me?" That afternoon, R.W. Duncan was taken to Forest Home Care Home. If anyone examined the ownership papers, they would discover it was owned by WHC. Before reaching Forest Home Care Home, they made a stop. R.W. needed to see his girlfriend one last time. Vanessa was in the van with R.W. She reassured him, "R.W., I know you can understand me. Everything will become clear very soon." For the first time since the ordeal began, R.W. realized someone knew he was still aware deep inside, trapped in his own body, crying to break free. He had cried silently through each test, each feeding with a bottle, each diaper change unheard by those around him. As they approached the building, R.W. recognized it and began crying immediately. "Don't worry, R.W. You've completed your treatment. Your girlfriend Thelma is going home today, and we thought you'd like to say goodbye to each other." Lesley greeted them at the door. Leading them to a private room, she addressed R.W. "In our first meeting, you suggested we write off the debt your girlfriend owed. We don't write off debts here. Our clients pay for our services, one way or another." In the private room, R.W. was seated in a chair with his arms and legs secured. "We don't want our little one to get too excited and risk harm, do we?" Vanessa repeated, "R.W. is a sleazeball, R.W. is a sleazeball," spitting out his pacifier, which he had been sucking on since waking from the staff meeting. R.W. exclaimed, "What have you done to me, you? I've turned you into a baby since you wouldn't give me one. I discovered your vasectomy just before our wedding. You knew how much I wanted to be a mother. I'm also thankful you waited 2 months before starting to cheat on me, as you told Ben. Looks like I might lose, but you'll lose too. According to your father's will, you can't divorce me. Any child you have must be mine. He. That's true, but I don't see a problem. We found out where you made your deposit at the sperm bank 2 months ago. I made a withdrawal. The doctor confirmed I'm 7 weeks pregnant with your child. This will be your only child. There was an accident at the sperm bank, and your sperm had to be discarded. What's happened to me? Why do I act like a baby on the outside? But I know everything that's going on. This is what WHC does. Through hypnosis, they change everything. Your slut didn't tell you this. The information you thought would expose everything. They've altered you. Now you have the mind of a toddler. Don't expect it to change. Soon, you won't even remember being an adult. Why a baby? Why didn't you just kill me? Did you forget how you arranged my finances? If anything happens to you, other than your incapacitation, I lose everything. So, you'll still be around but unable to manage your affairs. It's all mine again. Please, don't do this to me. Please, begged RW, change me back. I'll walk away. You won't see me again. How can I trust you? You've lied to me since before our marriage and every day since. If I did change you back, you'd come back for revenge. Now I know exactly where you are and what you're doing, without you returning to my life. Forest Home Care Home is owned by WHC, and you'll receive reinforcement of the hypnotic suggestions for life. I hope you enjoyed bottles, diapers, and crawling on the floor, because that's your future. I promise you this, Vanessa. I'll get back at you somehow, someway. You'll pay for every diaper and bottle of milk. I have 4 words for your threats. RW, hush baby, hush baby. RW soon realized all he could say was baby talk. Then Vanessa began dressing her husband in adult-sized baby clothes, tailored to resemble typical infant attire. I want you to look your best when you say goodbye to your mistress. I need to step out for a few minutes, my little one. Lesley is about to inform your mistress of her punishment. I want to witness the look on her face when it happens. Don't worry, you'll get your chance to say goodbye. As Vanessa left the room, she noticed RW's pacifier, which he had earlier spat out, so she placed it back into his mouth. 2 doors down from RW, Thelma Perkins was found. If RW had seen her on the street, he wouldn't have recognized her. Thelma remained in a hypnotic trance as Lesley entered the room. Lesley uttered, "Thelma is a slut, Thelma is a slut." As Thelma awakened, she inquired, "What happened? Where am I?" Upon recognizing Lesley, she sought answers, including, "Lesley, what have you done to me? We've decided to collect the remainder of the money you owe us. You could have just asked me for it. I was planning to pay it off, but my lawyer prevented me." Your lawyer is RW Duncan, correct? It seems odd that if you intended to pay off your debt, you'd be transferring all your money and assets to Swiss banks and offshore accounts. It was all RW's idea. He forced me. Well, we won't concern ourselves with that anymore. With the help of his wife, we've given your boyfriend lawyer our special treatment. So if you expect him to help you out of this, he can't even help himself. What have you done to him? Don't worry about him. We planned to introduce both of you to each other before relocating you to your new residences. What new residences? Both you and RW will require special care that neither of you can manage alone. Don't worry, we've transferred your funds back to Vanessa's control. She's arranged for your needs to be met for the rest of your life, with a little extra for your enjoyment. So, what in the hell did you do to me? We simply made a few adjustments. I want to see for myself. All right, Thelma, take a look. Thelma, take a look. Thelma turned towards the mirror, almost stumbling as she approached it. As she saw her new reflection for the first time, Thelma became hysterical, crying, shouting, and babbling unintelligibly for a solid 10 minutes. Lesley turned down the volume to spare herself from listening. When Thelma finally calmed down, Lesley turned the volume back up and asked, "How do you like the new Thelma Perkins?" Before WHC's treatment, Thelma Perkins had measurements of 36-24-38, weighed 120 pounds, with a model-like face and enviable hair. But now, the new Thelma weighed close to 180 pounds, with most of the extra weight settling around her hips and waist. Her face was aged and wrinkled, her hair thinning and grey, with visible bald spots. WHC had transformed Thelma Perkins into an 80-year-old woman, complete with all the joys and pains of aging. Earlier, her difficulty in walking stemmed from needing a walker. "Why did you do this to me?" "Anything but this," Thelma pleaded. "I considered what would be the worst thing for you." "Aging and decrepitude seemed fitting," Lesley replied calmly. "Please change me back, please. You know the rules. Once a change is made, it's irreversible." "What will happen to me now?" "You'll be taken to a nursing home for the elderly, also owned by WHC. We'll oversee your care. All your needs will be met, with a little allowance for personal expenses. Vanessa and I have arranged for you to receive the average discretionary income left over by senior citizens, enough to manage but not enough to cause trouble. About that envelope you mentioned, we found it 6 weeks ago and disposed of it. Soon, you'll fully accept being Thelma Perkins, an 80-year-old woman. You'll remember fragments of your past life, perceived by others as the ramblings of a troubled mind. Why didn't you approach me? We could have worked something out." "There were 2 reasons we couldn't. First, when you engaged our services, I explained why your fee was higher, to assist those less fortunate. Your response indicated indifference towards others' needs. Second, your actions towards Vanessa Duncan warranted consequences beyond what you and her husband did." Defeat washed over Thelma's face. She then asked, "What did you do to RW? Would you like to see RW? I believe you'll find his treatment quite intriguing." "Please," Thelma pleaded. An expression of sheer shock crossed Thelma's face as RW was wheeled into the room, appearing in his infantile state. "My goodness, what have you done to him?" Thelma gasped. "The opposite of what we did to you. He now has the mind of a toddler," Lesley explained calmly. Thelma rushed over to RW, hugging, kissing, and crying. Throughout it all, RW seemed bewildered, unable to grasp the situation. "At this stage, he doesn't even recognize you. It's time for the 2 of you to say goodbye. RW is a sleazeball, RW is a sleazeball," Lesley repeated. When RW finally got a clear look at the transformed Thelma, he recoiled in horror. "You can't be my Thelma. She was young and beautiful. You're old and ugly," RW protested. "I am Thelma. This is what WHC did to me. You insisted they couldn't do anything. How do you like their nothing now? I'm 80, and you're 1, Thelma retorted bitterly. "Please change us back. We'll give you all the money. We'll leave the country. Just please change us back." RW pleaded desperately. "Sorry, that's not possible. RW, what you did to your wife was unforgivable. When you made your deal with WHC, Thelma, we warned you not to dispute payment. As for your money, it's gone. Vanessa's funds are secure, and the rest was donated to help abused women worldwide. WHC received only what was owed," Lesley explained firmly. "Is there any chance at all you'll change us back?" RW asked, his voice filled with hope. "For you, RW, a very slim chance. In 5 years, if Vanessa agrees, you may regain adulthood under strict conditions. You must transition fully to female, your IQ will be reduced, and you'll relocate abroad without memory of your past life. Will you accept these terms?" "It's your only option," Lesley offered. "I'd rather be a low IQ woman than remain a baby," RW conceded reluctantly. "As for Thelma, there's no chance," Lesley added firmly. "It's time for your final farewells. We'll leave you both alone for a few moments," Lesley said, exiting with Vanessa. 10 minutes later, as RW was wheeled away, he heard the chant, "RW is finally a baby," and slipped into a trance. Thelma heard, Thelma is a witch, as she contemplated her irreversible fate. Looking ahead several years, Vanessa allowed R.W. to grow up. His body and mind were restored, albeit with an IQ of 75. R.W. began a new life in Australia, oblivious to his past. 4 years after parting with R.W., Thelma suffered a stroke. Her condition was irreversible due to the damage caused by the stroke, preventing any reversal by WHC. 7 months later, Vanessa gave birth to a healthy baby girl, whom she named Lesley.